It arrives without a knock, without a warning, and certainly without your permission. It slips through the cracks of a busy day and finds a seat in the quietest corner of your soul. You may have tried to ignore it, to push it aside with the business of living, but it has a stubbornness that mirrors your own. And then comes the night. The world grows silent, the chores are done, and the distractions fade. In that void, the problem that wouldn't let you go suddenly finds its voice. It whispers, it shouts, it replays the same scenes, the same fears, the same regrets on an endless, looping reel. It preys on the stillness, twisting it from a place of rest into a battlefield of worry. You find yourself staring at the ceiling, negotiating with shadows, asking questions that have no answers, while the clock ticks on, indifferent to your turmoil. You feel the weight of it, pressing down on your chest, a constant companion you never asked for. But what if we looked at it differently? What if this persistent problem, this relentless worry, is not a curse meant to break you, but a call meant to wake you? For years, you've been fighting it, arguing with it, trying to reason it away with logic and effort. And yet, it remains. Perhaps the fight is not to get rid of it, but to change your relationship with it. Perhaps the anchor of your peace is not found in the problem's resolution, but in the consistency of your return. It is the dawn return, a turning back, a recentering, that silences the night's loudest fears. This is not about ignoring the storm, it is about learning to stand firmly in the eye of it, tethered to a source of peace that does not waver. So, tonight, do not wrestle with the problem. Do not try to defeat it with the weary muscles of your own mind. Instead, listen to the sound of your own return. In the quiet, when it clings tightest, know that the dawn is approaching, not just the light of the sun, but the light of a renewed spirit. It is not about the problem letting you go, it is about you realizing you never needed its permission to be free. The real victory begins in the darkness, not in the hope that the problem will leave, but in the unwavering certainty that you belong to a greater mercy. The uninvited guest. This is the first and most crucial truth we must confront about the problem that won't let you go. It never asked for your permission to enter. Think about the nature of intrusion. When a stranger forces their way into your home, you do not sit them down for tea. You do not negotiate the terms of their stay. You do not rearrange your furniture to accommodate their comfort. Yet, with the problems of the heart and mind, we do exactly that. The problem arrives abruptly, often disguised as a simple concern, a fleeting worry, or a minor setback. It knocks on the periphery of your thoughts during the day when you are distracted by the noise of routine, and you barely register its presence. But it is cunning. It knows that the daylight hours are not its territory. The mind is too occupied with tasks, conversations, and the relentless hum of activity for the problem to fully establish its foothold. So it waits, patient and predatory, for the moment when the defenses come down. And then, without warning, it steps fully inside. This uninvited nature is what makes it so deeply unsettling. You did not choose this wait. You did not invite this anxiety. You did not volunteer for this sleeplessness or this knot in your stomach that tightens with each passing hour. The problem came to you through circumstances beyond your control, a diagnosis, a broken relationship, a financial collapse, a betrayal, a loss, or even the slow erosion of a dream you once held sacred. It arrived because life, in its unpredictable and often harsh unfolding, delivered it to your doorstep. And now, it refuses to leave. It has made itself at home in the corridors of your mind. It sits in the chair opposite you during your meals. It lies down beside you at night. It follows you to work, to prayer, to moments of supposed joy, reminding you constantly that it is still there, still present, still unresolved. But here is the profound realization: you are not responsible for its arrival, but you are entirely responsible for its tenure. The problem is uninvited, yes, but its continued residency depends on the attention you give it. Think of how you treat an unwanted guest. If you engage them in conversation, serve them food, and listen to their stories, they will naturally assume they are welcome. They will extend their stay. They will become bolder, more demanding, more intrusive. The same is true of the problem that haunts you. Every time you replay the scenario in your mind, you are offering it a seat. Every time you rehearse the conversation you should have had, you are pouring it a drink. Every time you imagine the worst-case outcome, you are handing it the keys to your inner sanctuary. The problem does not have the power to stay on its own. It only has the power you lend it through your constant engagement, your obsessive analysis, and your unwillingness to look away. This is the first lesson of liberation. Before you can ever hope to overcome the problem, you must acknowledge that it is an intruder, not a host. It came without your consent, and it stays only because you have forgotten that you have the authority to revoke its welcome. The moment you recognize its uninvited nature, you reclaim your agency. You stop treating it as a permanent. The nighttime is not merely a transition from day to night, it is a profound shift in the architecture of our consciousness. When the sun descends and the external world retreats into shadow, the internal world expands to fill the void, and this is where the problem that won't let you go finds its most potent breeding ground. During the day, we are fortunate to have 1,000 distractions at our disposal: the demands of work, the chatter of colleagues, the ceaseless notifications, the simple mechanics of moving through space and time. These distractions act as a buffer, a layer of insulation that keeps the problem at a manageable hum in the background. We can push it down, postpone it, and pretend it is smaller than it truly is because we are constantly bombarded by the immediate and the urgent. But the night strips all of that away. It removes the armor of busyness and leaves us exposed, vulnerable, and utterly alone with the very thoughts we have been running from. Consider the irony: the night, which is meant to be a sanctuary for rest and rejuvenation, often becomes the very arena where our deepest anxieties wage their fiercest battles. The stillness that should soothe us instead amplifies every whisper of doubt. The darkness that should comfort us instead magnifies every flicker of fear. This is because the problem feeds on silence. It thrives in the absence of noise, growing exponentially in the quiet corners of our minds. What was a manageable concern at noon transforms into an insurmountable mountain by midnight. The same thought that you dismissed in the sunlight now loops endlessly, each repetition adding weight, each echo deepening the groove of worry in your psyche. You find yourself replaying conversations, imagining catastrophic outcomes, and dissecting every possible mistake you have ever made, as if the stillness of the night grants you a cruel clarity that daylight obscures. And yet, there is a profound truth hidden within this nocturnal amplification. The night exposes what the day conceals, not to torment you, but to reveal to you the true nature of your attachment to this problem. The intensity of your nighttime struggle is a direct reflection of how deeply this issue has taken root in your heart. It is a mirror, unclouded by the dust of daily life, showing you where your peace truly lies, or where it has been lost. The problem's loudest voice at night is not a punishment, it is an invitation to confront what you have: the critical choice. This is where the battle is won or lost, not in the external circumstances that surround you, but in the quiet, invisible chamber of your own will. You have already acknowledged that the problem arrived uninvited, and you have seen how it amplifies its voice in the stillness of the night. Now you stand at a precipice, a defining moment where the trajectory of your inner life is determined. The choice before you is deceptively simple yet profoundly difficult. Will you allow this problem to become a permanent resident of your soul, or will you treat it as a passing visitor, a temporary guest whose stay is limited by your own decree? This is not a choice you make once and forget. It is a choice you make every single morning when you open your eyes, every single night when you close them, and every single moment in between when the problem taps you on the shoulder and demands your attention. Many people live their entire lives unaware that this choice even exists. They believe they are victims of their circumstances, helpless passengers on a ship whose course is determined by the winds of fate. They assume that because the problem is present, they must endure it, entertain it, and accommodate it indefinitely. They surrender their authority without a fight, handing over the reins of their inner world to an external force that has no right to rule them. But you are not among those who sleepwalk through their existence. You have been awakened to the truth. You possess an unassailable sovereignty over your own mind and heart. The problem may knock, it may shout, it may even shake the very foundations of your peace, but it cannot cross the threshold unless you open the door. And you always have the power to close it. Consider the nature of a resident versus a visitor. A resident has rights. A resident demands meals, space, and recognition. A resident expects to be consulted in every decision, to be acknowledged in every conversation, to be factored into every plan. A resident becomes part of the household, so deeply integrated into the fabric of daily life that you cannot imagine the home without them. This is what happens when you treat your problem as a permanent fixture. You structure your days around its demands. You filter your joys through its lens. You sacrifice your present moments on the altar of its unresolved presence. Your identity becomes entangled with its narrative, and you begin to introduce yourself through its lens. I am the one who is struggling, I am the one who is broken, I am the one who carries this unbearable weight. The problem has not only taken up residence, it has become the landlord of your soul. But a visitor is entirely different. A visitor arrives, makes their presence known, and then departs. You acknowledge their arrival with courtesy, you listen to what they have to say, and then you see them to the door. You do not build your life around them. You do not rearrange your priorities to suit their preferences. You do not forget that they are temporary, that their time in your space is limited, and that your home belongs to you, not to them. This is the stance you must adopt toward the problem that will not let you go. You acknowledge its existence. You do not deny it or pretend it is not there. That would be foolish and counterproductive. But you also do not elevate it to the status of a permanent resident. You draw a clear boundary. You say, you may visit, but you may not stay. You may speak, but you may not dictate. You may be present, but you may not preside. This choice is not about escaping reality. It is about redefining your relationship with reality. The problem exists, but it does not own you. The struggle is real, but it does not define you. The pain is genuine, but it does not govern you. You have the power, bestowed upon you by the very design of your creation, to decide what there is a moment in every sleepless night, every anxious hour, and every bout of desperate thinking when you realize that your own strength has reached its limit. You have tried every strategy you know. You have analyzed the problem from every angle, searched for solutions in the corners of your mind, and exhausted yourself with the sheer effort of trying to think your way out of the maze. And yet, the walls remain. The problem stands unmoved, unimpressed by your mental gymnastics and indifferent to your exhaustion. It is in this precise moment of depletion, when your own resources have run dry, that you stand at the threshold of a profound discovery. The lifeline you have been searching for is not hidden within the labyrinth of your own thoughts. It extends outward, beyond the boundaries of your limited will, toward something far greater and far more constant than your fleeting emotional states. The faithful anchor is not a strategy, a technique, or a cognitive trick. It is a conscious, deliberate, and rhythmic turning back to a source of peace that does not fluctuate with the changing tides of circumstance. Think of an anchor dropped into the sea. The ship may rock violently on the surface, battered by waves and tossed by winds that seem merciless and endless. The storm may rage with all its fury, but the anchor holds firm below, tethered to something immovable and certain. In the same way, your soul, when anchored to a source of divine tranquility, can weather the most ferocious storms of worry without being shattered. The problem still rages above, but you are no longer adrift, no longer at the mercy of every wave of fear that crashes against your consciousness. You are held, steady and secure, by a connection that transcends the temporary chaos of your circumstances. This anchoring is not a one-time act but a consistent return, a daily recalibration of your heart's orientation. The problem that won't let you go is persistent, relentless in its attempts to pull you back into the swirling currents of anxiety. It will whisper to you during the day and shout at you during the night, trying to convince you that you are alone, that you have been abandoned, that there is no escape from its grip. But the faithful anchor reminds you that you are never truly alone. Each time you turn back, each time you recite words of remembrance, each time you center your heart on the divine presence that surrounds you, you are tightening the chain that holds you secure. The repetition is not mindless, it is the very essence of resilience. It is the soldier sharpening their sword, the gardener tending their roots, the traveler returning to the path. With each return, you are strengthening your connection to a peace that is not affected by the problem's intensity, a peace that existed long before the problem arrived and will remain long after it has departed. The beauty of this anchor lies in its accessibility. You do not need to be a scholar, a saint, or a person of extraordinary spiritual stature to grasp it. You do not need to retreat to a mountaintop or enter a monastery to find it. The anchor is present in the simple words you utter, the quiet supplications you make, and the silent moments you dedicate to remembering that you are held by a power far greater than the problem that binds you. It is present in the dawn, when you first open your eyes and turn your heart away from the fears that lingered in the dark. It is present in the evening, when you reflect on the day's struggles and release them into the hands of a keeper who never sleeps. This anchor does not promise the removal of the storm, but it promises something far more valuable, the unshakable certainty that you will not be consumed by it. The waves may crash, the winds may howl, and the problem may roar with all its might, but you remain anchored, steadfast, and deeply at peace in the knowledge that your safety does not depend on the stillness of the sea but on the strength of what holds you, the dawn of transformation. This is the final and most beautiful revelation, the moment when the problem that has gripped you so tightly reveals its hidden purpose. For so long, you have viewed this persistent worry, this relentless weight, as nothing more than a curse, a burden you must endure until it finally releases you. You have prayed for its removal, begged for its departure, and measured your happiness by its absence. But what if you have been looking at it backwards? What if the problem that refuses to let you go is not an obstacle to your peace but the very vessel through which your deepest resilience and connection are forged? This is not a comfortable thought, and it is certainly not an easy one to accept. It requires a complete reversal of your perspective, a willingness to see beyond the surface of your suffering and into the profound purpose that lies beneath. Consider the process of transformation in the natural world. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by avoiding the cocoon. It becomes a butterfly precisely because it enters the darkness of that enclosed space and undergoes a complete metamorphosis. The struggle to break free from the cocoon is not a flaw in the design but an essential part of the process, for it is that very struggle that strengthens the butterfly's wings, enabling it to fly. In the same way, your struggle with this persistent problem is not meaningless torture, it is the cocoon of your own transformation. The darkness you experience, the constriction you feel, the desperate longing for release, all of these are shaping you, molding you, and preparing you for a flight you could not have achieved without them. The problem that won't let you go is, in truth, the very force that will not let you remain as you are. It refuses to release you because it is determined to elevate you. This transformation is not about the problem disappearing, it is about you becoming someone who can no longer be defined by the problem. When you emerge from this crucible, you will not be the same person who entered it. Your patience will have deepened, your compassion expanded, and your connection to the divine source of all peace strengthened beyond what you previously thought possible. The problem that once seemed like an enemy will be revealed as a reluctant teacher, a harsh but ultimately merciful guide who led you through the darkness to the dawn. You will look back and realize that the nights of sleepless worry were not wasted, they were the nights when your faith was refined, your prayers became heartfelt, and your dependency on your own strength was broken so you could discover a strength far greater than your own. And this brings you to the most profound shift of all, the realization that the peace you have been seeking is not conditional upon the problem's resolution. You have been waiting for the problem to leave before you allowed yourself to be at peace, but the dawn of transformation reveals that peace is available to you right now, in the very midst of your struggle. The problem may still be present, its grip still tight, its voice still loud, but you are no longer captive to its narrative. You have discovered that your identity is not woven from your worries but from your unwavering return to a source of mercy that holds you through every storm. The problem has become a catalyst, a sacred calling that has awakened you to a depth of faith and connection you would never have known in its absence. You are no longer asking when the problem will let you go, you are thanking it for forcing you to find the anchor that will hold you for eternity.